8.2 Jacob Tupper. So earlier I conducted a health screening questionnaire with a client, and this presentation is going to show the results of the answers to the health screening questionnaire and the strategies I believe should be put in place to help increase their health, lifestyle, and to achieve their goals. Okay, so briefly, the important thing to look at here is that it's a 55-year-old male I spoke to, and their goal was to find the time to run at least 3 times a week and a maximum distance in a run of 16 kilometers. So this shows that they are currently running, so they're currently active, and they said they were currently running approximately 1 or 2 times a week. So just to increase it one more time would be quite an easy goal to do, and an achievable goal. It mentions here about the time to run, and I asked about this, and he said that his occupation prevents him from having time to exercise, as he works nights, so he's usually sleeping during the day, and family life also affects him, affects the time he has to do exercise. As I mentioned, his current physical activity, he runs 1 or 2 times a week, but he also walks the dog every day, he mentioned, and this walk lasts between 1 hour and an hour and a half. So he is relatively active during the week. He also used to take part in football. It was 5-a-side football actually, and he enjoyed the social and competitive aspect of this. And he said he did enjoy to exercise, and his preferred exercise activities were running and football, the ones that were mentioned. His lifestyle, he does smoke, and only at work, which was an interesting point that came up. And that he didn't specify a reason why he smoked. I asked, but he didn't have a reason. And he said he smokes no more than 10 times a day and 4 times a week, and that will be during the evenings when he's working. And he also mentioned, and the NHS recommendation about smoking is that obviously you shouldn't smoke at all, as this increases the chance of heart disease and stroke risk. So obviously this would be a factor we need to take into account when trying to improve their healthy lifestyle. And their alcohol, he said he consumed approximately 15 to 20 units of alcohol a week, which particularly at night time when he's not at work, so it'll be 3 or 4 times a week. So in a way it's good that he's not drinking every day, so it's only a few days in a week. That's good. And the NHS recommended amount of alcohol is not to drink more than 14 units a week on a regular basis. So 15 to 20 units is slightly over. So potentially would be something to decrease to improve their health factors. Obviously, he's a full-time employment as a senior nurse practitioner, and this involves him sitting down for long periods of time. So he is quite inactive when working. And the amount of sleep he gets, if he's working, he gets about 6 hours of sleep during the day, and if he's not, he gets about 6 to 9 hours of sleep at night. And he rated that as average quality, as he sometimes wakes up during the night and wakes up tired with his back hurting in the mornings. Now looking at nutrition, he mentioned that he had breakfast every day, which is good. He'd have toast or cereal during that. And him or his family cooks at home every day for dinner time. But his meals aren't always well balanced. As he mentioned, they particularly lack in vegetables. During lunch times, he mentioned that he eats 3 to 4 times a week. He eats fast food or takeaway during the middle of the day, so lunch times. And He often consumes sugary food or drinks. He said potentially 4 or 5 a day. So that would be includes like chocolate, and he said sugary drinks. So that all contributes to that. He also eats processed meat 5 or 6 times a week, which isn't good, and only eats about 2 vegetables a day. However, if he is working, he has a salad, which would obviously increase the total amount of vitamins he is getting as a much healthier alternative. And if he's not working, he has pretty much 0 fruit in a day. But if he's working, he takes 3 fruit with him. So his lifestyle when he's working is relatively healthy. It's when he's not working is particularly bad. And he obviously drinks 2.5 to 2.5 to 3 litres of water, which includes part of other drinks like tea or coffee. But he usually has decaf coffee, which is better than having caffeinated. His medical history was absolutely fine. There was nothing to be aware of. To the best of their knowledge, they hadn't been referred or anything. So for them, as far as they were aware of, they were perfectly healthy. And after the health screening questionnaire, I talked about consent, made him aware of what I was going to do and what was happening to the information he's just shared. And he agreed with that. He was all fine with that. So then I continued on with the tests. The first test I took was a heart rate check. So I measured his pulse for 15 seconds and then multiplied it by 4 to get his beats per minute. And the results I got was he had a resting heart rate of 68 beats per minute. And comparing this to other normative data, it shows that he's just below average. So he's got quite a healthy heart rate for a person of his age. Next, I moved on to the body mass index check. So this involved me weighing him and also taking his height. So his weight turned out to be 13 stone. And his height turned out to be 1 meter and 76 centimeters. Using the calculation weight over height squared to find his BMI. His BMI came out as 26.6, and this then put him in the overweight category. So he was relatively overweight, but not very overweight. So he's towards the lower end of this, which is all right. But obviously can potentially cause some health issues. So you'd want to try to get him to lose some weight potentially. And finally, I conducted a waist to hip ratio check. So I measured his waist and measured his hip, and his waist turned out to be 40.5 inches and his hip was 37 inches. So it's a waist to hip ratio turned out to be 1.09, and this then put him in a high health risk by quite a significant amount. So it would definitely have to be something to be aware of. So to summarise, his resting heart rate was relatively good. That was better than average slightly at 68. But his BMI and waist hip ratio are two areas which would need improvement. So he was slightly overweight with his BMI and had a high health risk with his waist to hip ratio of 1.09. So that would definitely be something to address and work on. To evaluate the health screening questionnaire, it's an achievable goal with the amount of work he's already doing, but he said he lacked time to do this, so we would have to find ways to combat this and find him time during the week. His strength, he is active, runs 1 or 2 times a week and walks the dog every day, and but it's very much light exercise because I don't know how much effort he's putting in on these runs. He could run for 20 minutes, then walk the rest, and it could be a very light pace. So it is light exercise, and potentially we could include an intenser session, so a high intensity exercise, where this would help burn more fat and therefore help him lose weight as well. Nutrition, it was good. He ate breakfast. His family cooks with him for dinner times, but obviously it was the fast food and processed meat and sugary drinks weren't good. They're too high. And strengths, he got a recommended amount of sleep, which was good. But areas of improvement, he got recommended amount of sleep when he's not working, because it's about the NHS recommends it for approximately 8 hours of sleep. So when he is working, he could do with a bit more sleep than 6 hours, but that's not something to be too worried about. But his lifestyle for areas for improvement would be particularly his smoking and potentially his alcohol, as his smoking's relatively high and his alcohol is slightly over recommended amount. So strategies to improve his overall health. So obviously we need to get him to smoke less cigarettes a week, and we would do this by either him texting me every evening when he works to say how many he's smoked, and also to have someone at work with him to help him smoke less, to help motivate him to reduce the amount of cigarettes he smokes or to stop smoking altogether. He'd also need to order less takeaways and potentially less often have processed meat. And a way to do this would just be plan out the meals of the week. So he already cooks for dinner time as well. So obviously he could plan out his lunch so he doesn't order takeaways for lunch, or he could plan out meals that allow him to then assess whether his meals for the week are abundant in all the fruit, vegetables, all that vitamins that he's lacking at the moment. And also, we would want him to lose more weight with better planned exercise, because his BMI was slightly over and his waist to hip ratio was quite high. So potentially join a 5-a-side football group once a week as he used to. And this would then help him have that routine of doing that thing each week, and then he could plan that in rather than just going on 1 or 2 runs whenever he feels like it in the week. And he mentioned that the dog walking took up time for him, which prevented him from doing running, which was his ultimate goal. So he could potentially include the dog in running. So the dog gets exercise, which is a job to do, and he also gets exercise working towards his goal of running 3 times a week. And then from that, he can then go up to his 10-mile target, which is what he was trying to do. And so if he stuck to all of this, I believe that he would reach his goal, and obviously ultimately improve his overall health with less smoking, potentially also reducing his alcohol content. But I don't think that's a thing to be particularly worried of at the moment. But yeah, less smoking, less takeaways, processed meat, and plan his meals to get an overall healthy lifestyle and lose more weight, to become a healthy BMI and healthy waist to hip ratio. And we would also redo these tests after a month or 6 weeks to track his progress through this and see how he's doing.